Hey, what's going on there? And welcome to the second masterclass where today we're going to be talking about how you can facilitate somatic coaching. And specifically, we use body-based breakthrough. So let's get into it. So excited to chat about it. So yeah, well, let's explore the B3 methodology and, as we see it, a really transformational approach to somatic coaching that really integrates breath work, gentle movement, mindfulness, and journaling to unlock your inner wisdom and guide you toward inspired action. And so for all of our clients, that's our main goal. I love this quote by Leonardo da Vinci. He says, "Every now and then, go away, have a little relaxation, for when you come back to your work, your judgment will be surer. Go some distance away, because then the work appears smaller and more of it can be taken in at a glance, and a lack of harmony and proportion is more readily seen." And so that's what we're doing in body-based breakthrough in so many ways. We're going to go away and have a little relaxation, because when we come back, our judgment is sure, right? We get to see everything appears much smaller and less of a big deal. And so we can approach it with a little bit more grace, a little bit more ease, and especially, and I would say a lot less anxiety, and ultimately more confidence. So the B3 method really rests on a foundation of scientific evidence and ancient wisdom, recognizing that true creative breakthrough often occur beneath the conscious level, where the body mind connect. And so our method guides us to tap into this really potent source of wisdom and source of life, and to really bring it into our lives outside of our sessions. Now, again, we facilitate body-based breakthrough as a group process and as a one-on-one process with our one-on-one clients. So we do this again in groups. I've been very blessed. I've gotten to share this with leaders and groups at organizations like SpaceX and Google and Snapchat and myriad of other places. But what's been really special is then I can then take that work into the one-on-one conversations that I have with clients as well. And so let's explore a little bit about the process and how you would facilitate a B3 session. So B3 unfolds in three simple yet really profound steps: orientation, moving meditation, and surrender. So in the orient phase, we ground ourselves, becoming really aware of our surroundings, what's around us in our environment, and then our internal state. And moving meditation ultimately guides us to engage in really gentle movement, mindful breathing, and we begin to explore our desired experiences along with our headline, our question that we're going to be contemplating. And then finally, we enter into a really deep state of surrender, allowing our unconscious mind to really process, integrate, and offer up, bubble up, emerge breakthroughs. And if you recall from our last session, we talked about bottom-up process. And so that's what this is, very much so. So we offer very simple movement, very simple breath work, and very magically the biology does what it's supposed to do, which is it's so much more open and available for wisdom to come through. So let's talk about the journal. So there are some really cool, and not just the journal, but I want to more specifically talk about like the tools of the trade. So this is my former business partner, Matthew Lutz, who I just adore. He created these really cute little drawings. So we have our Epiphany Archive, our body-based breakthrough journal. And obviously, alongside that, you're going to have your wisdom conduit, your pencil or your pen. And then optionally, very optionally, you can have a breakthrough mat if you wish. But I like to think of that as really wherever we're exploring this somatic coaching process, whether it's in a seat, whether it's walking, whether it's on all fours, that the thing that's supporting us, the earth, the chair, the mat, is really a science laboratory for our lives. So the mat is optional. It doesn't have to be. It could just be on carpet. But the idea is that the thing that's supporting us is really our foundation to allow us to explore our inner landscape a little bit more. So let's talk about the breath. In body-based breakthrough, we really focus the goal in so many ways, and these I want you to think about these as sort of essential breath considerations when you're doing somatic coaching. The breath is the bridge between, in yogic philosophy, we have what's called Anamaya kosha, which is the sheath of our being, which is the body. It's the most obvious, it's the most gross, most superficial layer of our being is our body. Then you go in a layer deeper to what's called pranamaya kosha, which is the sheath of our being, which is the breath. And then you go in even deeper and you have manamaya kosha, which is the mind, or the brain, I guess you could say, but the mind. And so what's the bridge between the body and the mind? The breath. And so our goal is to practice cooling breaths in body-based breakthrough. We're not trying to heat up the autonomic nervous system, because many people, I'm going to tell you, 95% of your clients, especially in today's day and age, will walk into sessions pretty amped up. So we learned about the nervous system in our last one. There's these waves of growing intensity and then de-intensity, or settling. And so we want to encourage our clients towards the less of the intensity part, and we want to begin to help to support their system to settle. So again, many clients will come in really good at the ramping up at the too much intensity. So we want to support them with cooling breaths. As you can imagine, heating breaths begin to raise your intensity, your activation, your anxiety, perhaps your ADHD, some of these flight symptoms, fight symptoms. And so we want to offer cooling breaths. And many of our nervous systems are running on a really perpetual loop of fight, flight, and freeze, which is heat. So we want to balance it out with breaths that are more calming and enjoyable, and dare I say it, even pleasurable for us. So even just in this moment, I'm going to encourage you, just take a moment and see if you can just take in a really pleasurable breath. And as you exhale, just simply notice, how was that? Did that feel like a heating breath or a cooling breath? Not saying that you necessarily feel colder or hotter, but do you feel how your system goes, oh, yeah. There's something kind of nice to that. We also want to avoid ujjayi breath. If you're familiar with yoga or you've ever been to a yoga class, we have the ocean sounding breath as the while that can be lovely, it's also very stimulating. And if maybe you've heard of it as the Darth Vader breath, it's great, but it does rev up the sympathetic nervous system, which is that activation. So again, not saying that's not lovely. It's a fantastic breath, but we want to encourage settling, cooling breaths. We also want what's called alpha and theta brainwaves. If you come into our 3-month training program, when we certify our coaches, we talk a lot deeper about brainwave states, but primarily we're going to say that beta is the highest, alpha is the second highest, but alpha is a very calm, meditative flow state that our brain gets into. And then we have theta, which is very deep. It's the deepest brain state before we flip into sleep, which is delta brainwaves. So again, we go a lot deeper in our program about that, but gives you a greater sense of how we're looking at the breath and when we lead breath with sessions. Then we have handwriting, and I want to talk about why journaling and capturing the wisdom from inside in a journal can be so powerful. So journaling is a really integral part of our method, and it serves as a bridge between the insights that we receive during our practice and the actions that we go take in our lives. So by capturing our breakthroughs, externalizing our thoughts and our feelings and our experiences on paper, we can reflect, organize, and ultimately prioritize, and then transform that inspiration into tangible results in our lives. So as soon as you put pen to paper, you establish a really direct and obvious connection between the body and the mind. And so really, honestly, few tools facilitate this transition between our internal and our external state better than pen and paper, than by writing by hand. So this also kind of takes out some of the stimulation of the coach and client relationship looking directly at one another. And so any kind of stimulation, including eye contact or like direct conversation and the expectation of like an immediate response, it's like, hey, what are you feeling inside? That can create intensity in the nervous system, which makes it harder to access some of that information. And so this can sometimes fluster clients who may be building their awareness of their internal world for the first time. And so this can lead to folks getting frustrated or discouraged while building this really new skill of going inside for answers. So B3 journaling really allows space for our clients to attend to and observe their internal landscape in a way that other forms of somatic coaching or direct conversation don't necessarily offer. So it may feel like a sort of awkward step backwards in some ways, but what it's actually doing is it's allowing, by writing by hand, it activates multiple regions of the brain simultaneously, and thereby imprinting what we are learning, what we're experiencing, what we're finding on a much deeper level. And so, yeah, let's go into a tour, just a really quick tour of the journal. I'm going to give you like a very high level look at this. So the B3 journal is really thoughtfully designed to guide you through the entire process. So it includes sections for crafting what's called a headline question, setting desired experience, connecting with your wisdom mantra, capturing breakthroughs in the breakthrough landing pad, making decisions with the decision matrix. There's a lot to it. But what I want to just say high level is that in doing body-based breakthrough as a somatic coaching process, we want to work in harmony with the two sides of this journal. So on the left-hand side of the page is really responsible for stimulating and capturing breakthroughs, creating breakthroughs, and really, in a sense, like having a date with your body. And then in the top right-hand corner on the right-hand page is really where we start to have a date with our mind, and then the bottom right-hand corner of that right-hand page, we're having a date with our actions. So the way that we look at it is we want to create alignment of body, mind, and action, right? Like to me, that's alignment, right? So we jokingly say that, like, think of your journal as like a wingman or a wingwoman on these dates, and really your job as coach is to help your clients walk through, navigate these dates inside of their session. So when we think about really secure relating, that's what we really want. So we have the breath, we've started to look at the journal, then we got to think about movement. And so there's this really beautiful, I learned this from one of my teachers, her name is Ariel Schwartz, incredible facilitator of polyvagal theory and yoga and safety and yeah, somatics. And she teaches this idea of pandicular movement, and she didn't create it, but it's this concept. Pandicular movement is any shape that has a secure base for exploratory movement. I'll give you a great example. I want you to imagine that you're waking up for the first time in the morning. So press your seat into the seat, stretch your arms up, and start to stretch, just like you're waking up first thing in the morning. You might have a yawn come. And when you do that, there's this alternation of not only stretches but also contractions. So if you can feel that, there's some parts of us that open and then some parts of us that also contract, and that feels really natural and good. right? No one's like wakes up and is like, oh gosh, I hate this stretching part. Like it actually feels so good to stretch and also flex at the same time. So pendicular movements are deeply healing as they're the nervous system's way of waking up our sensory motor system. And so it's a really healing movement because it can really reduce the buildup of chronic muscular tension that just occurs as we walk throughout our days, and it increases voluntary control over our muscles. So again, another way to think of it is kind of like an animal moving up, like just waking up from a nap, right? It's like a full body yawn is another way to think about it. So, and it's this congruence of this expansion and contraction, and that really is the body's love language. So those are the kind of movements that we begin to explore. So as we're doing exploration of movement, we're also breathing, we're also exploring our headline, our question that we walk into the session with. So just a couple do's and don'ts as the role of a facilitator. So in your role, we want to create a safe and supportive space for clients to begin to explore their inner landscapes. We want to encourage curiosity and gentle movement and self-discovery. And so you guide them through the process, offering prompts, reflections, but also space for deep integration. And so here's what we always want our clients to experience. Number one, it's like, I want them to slow down. And in directing movement for my clients, we're setting the foundation for healthy structural alignment, but very, very simple, and then heavily focusing on relaxation and softening. So we have an entire week in our 3-month certification training program where we dedicate it to moving meditation, and we literally give you the scripts, the actual scripts of every single cue that you would give somebody in walking them through simple movement. You never need to go get a yoga certification or any of that kind of stuff, because our movements are very simple. It's pendicular, like we just said. It's this exploration of movement that's really subtle but simple. And so as people are beginning to do that, we're also focusing again on relaxation and softening. And as we bring the body and our biology really as a whole into a more regulated state, into what's called our window of tolerance, we begin to calm the mind. The body and the mind really follow one another. And so once we've loosened up the mind, we can slow down and relax into what's called undirected attention, which really unlocks the truth of our experience. And again, we talk a lot deeper in the neuroscience week on undirected attention. But as we unlock the truth of our experience, we begin to allow for new stories and ultimately new behaviors, which is inspired action. And as I start taking new inspired actions, I get new results, which is really exciting in my life. And then I start having new outcomes ultimately in all areas of my life. And so that's what we always want our clients to experience inside of a session. What we never really want inside of our particular somatic coaching methodology is we don't want to focus heavily on their body, which is, it sounds ironic, right? But this is not a fitness regime, which is great. Like, please go do Pilates. If you're a fan of Sammy Clark's form, go do like a badass like booty and ab workout. Like, totally go do that stuff. That stuff's amazing. That's not what this is. And so that's why we have these photos here of like a guy in handstand. Like, we're not focused on fancy vinyasa flows. We don't use we're not focusing on complexity. In fact, we're using gentle sequences, but it's a very simple one. We have it all pretty laid out. But our clients we don't want them to feel pushed or called out. We're not pushing beyond our limits. In fact, what we're wanting to do is guide our clients to the edges of what's pleasant and those borders, but not beyond. And so this is really the key, is knowing your clients' limitations as best as you possibly can. But what's really cool is we want what's called organic maturity rather than forced maturity. And the reason that is that organic is sustainable. Forced maturity, yeah, I might be able to like do it for a little bit, but I can't do it and sustain it in the long term. It's not real, frankly. And that's why imposter syndrome is so prevalent for so many of us, is because we've pushed far beyond where we organically and naturally have matured. And so we're sort of forcing ourselves, we're sort of faking it till you make it kind of thing. And that's great, but it starts from a seed of faking. And I want to grow naturally and organically instead of like, I mean, it's like organic versus conventional fruit is probably the best way to, that's probably the best analogy, is instead of supporting our clients by like spraying a bunch of chemicals on them so that they grow really big and they're GMO'd and everything, and they're like these big monstrosities of clients, instead I want to allow for beautiful, bright, natural, organic expansion and growth in their lives, because they will thank you 20, 30, 40 years from now, because you truly helped them grow into the person that they were meant to become. And that's awesome. Such a good feeling. So let's talk about the 7-step protocol very briefly. I'm not going to go super deep into this today, because you can walk through all of this stuff. You can even pause the recording. A typical B3 session, again, whether in a group or in one-on-one, is going to seamlessly flow through these various stages, including orientation, which is our first piece. That's as we're arriving, we're getting oriented to the environment around us. We're getting oriented to our senses. We're going to do some gentle breath work, some gentle spinal movements, moving meditation. I'm on step number 4. Deep rest, journaling. There will be an emergence of a new narrative. And then finally, we do integration coaching at the very end of a session. So we find an inspired action. We do some integration coaching. So each stage is really carefully crafted to really guide our participants through this whole process, really on a journey, take them toward a state of deep relaxation, receptivity, and connection with their intuition, their own inner knowing. And it's just gorgeous, the things that come out of it. So I want to just quickly give you next steps. So, obviously, and we talked about this on the last one, somatic coaching is gaining momentum every single year. And there is just coverage all over the place. You look at any news media outlet, they're talking about somatic coaching. And it's becoming a greater and greater need for people nowadays. And so you can harness body-based breakthrough in order to help people heal, to make a lasting impact, and to ultimately grow a business that you love. And so, I mean, there's several ways you can go about doing it. You can obviously like hang out on Instagram, watch a bunch of things like this, and over the years, maybe 3 to 5 years, you might pick up enough stuff that you reach mastery. And I certainly hope that you do. Or you can fast track your journey with body-based breakthrough. And with our certification, it's a 3-month certification. It is a life-transforming mentorship that is designed to really train you in our proven somatic techniques that ultimately create true transformation with your clients. And it's meticulously crafted to really help your clients, to guide them through deep, lasting change by leveraging the body's intelligence. And so you're going to gain super holistic skills beyond mindset work, and to ultimately equip people to support them to feel safe and confident and move beyond anxiety, imposter syndrome, all of the fun things. And it's a really transformative process, our training is, of both personal and professional awakening. And I will say that you can see here in some of the cool client love stories that we got that people come in for both reasons. People come in to personally grow, and they come in to professionally grow. And so you're going to be surrounded by values aligned folks, peers. We have live weekly calls, and we get to benefit from the community. It's really, really special. So I want you to just imagine a year from now that you have done this journey and feeling so immensely grateful that you leaned into this journey. So yeah, whether you're an established coach and you want to deepen your impact in somatic techniques, or you're a new facilitator, B3 is gonna equip you to really transform lives and build a really meaningful career. And so if you feel the call, I'd love to support you on this path. Our team would love to support you on this path. So go ahead, book a call. It should be right underneath this. Book a call with myself or someone on our team. And thank you for being here. And I would be so honored to mentor you. And stick around, because on our next session, we're going to do one more master session, one more master class, where we're going to talk about building a body-based business. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you on that one. And I'll talk to you really soon.